The thing nobody tells you about the stairs of death is that they're not actually that long. The notorious section, the part that shows up in every Instagram reel, the one with the cable handrail and the 1,000-foot drop and the steps so narrow your boot doesn't fully fit on them, that section is barely 400 feet of vertical climbing. Most people get up it in 25 minutes. Dr. Marcus Reeves got 200 feet up before his heart stopped. His wife was 3 steps behind him when it happened. She watched him put his hand on the cable, lean forward to take the next step, and simply fold sideways. She caught the back of his pack. The pack came off in her hand. He fell 40 feet down the Inca staircase before his body wedged against the cable post that probably saved her from watching him go all the way down. The Peruvian rescue team that arrived on stretcher and rope 51 minutes later told her something she would repeat to a grief counselor in Phoenix every week for the next year. They told her gently, in accented English, that her husband was the 3rd American physician they had carried off this mountain in 8 years. 3 doctors, all convinced they'd be the exception. None of them were. Hi, I'm Nate from The Final Trip, and today I want to tell you about Dr. Marcus Reeves, a 51-year-old cardiothoracic surgeon from Phoenix, Arizona, who specialized for 23 years in treating coronary artery disease, and who died of a massive heart attack on a mountain in Peru that the Inca built 600 years ago. Marcus Reeves had been warned by his own colleague, by his own primary care doctor, by the literature in his own field, and by a man named Dr. Donato Amato, a real expert. I'm going to tell you about who has been begging the Peruvian government for years to screen tourists before they're allowed to walk up the stairs of death. Marcus Reeves was a heart surgeon. He thought he knew his own heart. He didn't. Warning. One came from Marcus's own primary care physician, an internist in Phoenix named Dr. Patel, 3 months before the trip. Marcus's annual physical had flagged something. His LDL cholesterol was up. His blood pressure was up. His resting EKG had shown a minor abnormality. Patel's words in the chart were non-specific T-wave changes, recommend stress test. Marcus declined the stress test. He told Patel he ran 6 miles 4 times a week, that his VO2 max was in the 92nd percentile for his age, and that the EKG was almost certainly an artifact. He was, he reminded Patel, a cardiothoracic surgeon. He performed roughly 200 bypass surgeries a year. He had stood inside more chests than Patel had probably seen on imaging. Patel wrote in the chart, "Patient declined further workup, discussed risks, patient understands, patient understood, patient was wrong." Warning 2 came from a colleague at Marcus's own hospital. A cardiologist named Dr. Anika Sharma, 15 years younger than Marcus, mentioned at a staff lunch that she had honeymooned in Peru and had refused to climb Huayna Picchu because of the altitude. Marcus laughed at her. Anika Sharma was a Stanford-trained cardiologist who specialized in altitude cardiology and had published twice on cardiac events in tourists at Cusco elevation Andean sites. She was by training exactly the kind of person Marcus should have listened to. Marcus told her she was being soft. He said his cardiac fitness was better than half the residents in the program. He added with a smile that he would send her a postcard from the summit. Anika wrote him an email the next morning. Marcus's wife later found it in his inbox after he died. In the message, she wrote that the people who die at altitude are almost never out of shape tourists. It's the marathoners, she wrote. It's the surgeons. It's the men who think they know. Marcus did not reply. Sit with that one. A cardiologist warned a heart surgeon in writing that men exactly like him were the ones who died at altitude. He didn't even respond. Warning 3. Marcus and his wife, Linda, flew into Cusco, elevation 11,150 feet, on the morning of March 1st, 2022. They were doing a 5-day trip culminating in Machu Picchu. The standard guidance every traveler in Cusco gets, from the airline, the hotel, the tour company, and the literature in the lobby, is the same. Spend at least 48 hours acclimatizing. Drink coca tea. move slowly. Do not exert yourself the first 2 days. Marcus dismissed the guidance as overcautious. He went for a 5-mile run that afternoon at altitude. Linda, a 49-year-old high school principal who had been married to Marcus for 25 years and who had spent 25 years losing arguments to him, asked him not to. He went anyway. He came back winded in a way that surprised him. He told Linda his lungs felt full. He told her he probably just needed water. He drank water and said he felt better. He did not feel better. Warning 4. On March 3rd, the night before the climb, Marcus and Linda met 2 other American couples at the hotel restaurant in Aguas Calientes, the small village at the base of Machu Picchu, elevation 6,700 feet. One of the husbands, a 58-year-old retired engineer from Denver, mentioned that he and his wife had decided not to climb Huayna Picchu the next day. He explained that he had been short of breath all afternoon, that the hotel's altitude information sheet specifically warned against climbing for anyone over 50 with cardiovascular concerns, and that they would just walk through the main Machu Picchu site instead. Marcus told the man with the easy authority of a surgeon that the altitude at Huayna Picchu wasn't really high enough to cause cardiac events in healthy adults. He explained incorrectly that 8,800 feet was below the threshold for clinically significant hypoxia. The retired engineer's wife, who had been quietly listening, asked Marcus what he'd do if his patient came to him with that EKG and that blood pressure and asked about climbing 8,000 feet at altitude. Marcus said, "I'd tell them to get a stress test." The engineer's wife said, "And did you get one?" Linda, sitting next to him, watched her husband's face for the answer. Marcus changed the subject. That's the moment I want you to hold on to, because his wife heard the question. His wife heard him not answer it. And his wife went up that mountain with him anyway, because she had been losing arguments with him for 25 years, and she did not know that this argument was the one that mattered. Warning 5. The morning of March 4th. Marcus and Linda took the 6 a.m. bus from Aguas Calientes up to Machu Picchu. At the entrance to Huayna Picchu, climbers must show their pre-purchased permit and check in with a park ranger. Only 400 permits are issued per day. The trail is one way up, one way down, and the round trip averages 3 to 4 hours. The park ranger that morning was an older man named Hugo, a Quechua local who had worked at the park for 22 years. He had a script he delivered in 3 languages. The Spanish version, the English version, and the Quechua version were all the same. Climb slowly, drink water. If you feel chest pain, dizziness, or shortness of breath, stop immediately and descend. There is no rescue helicopter on this mountain. Rescue is by stretcher only. Stretcher rescue from the upper section of the Stairs of Death takes between 2 and 4 hours. Hugo delivered this script roughly 400 times a day. Most tourists nodded politely and ignored it. Marcus nodded politely and ignored it. But here is what I want you to know about Hugo, and about the man who trained him, because this is where the real expert anchor for our story enters. Warning 6 is bigger than Marcus. It predates Marcus. It is sitting, on paper, in the office of Dr. Donato Amato, a real named, currently working archaeologist and administrator who runs the National Archaeological Park of Machu Picchu. Dr. Amato has been quoted in international press on the record saying, these are his exact public words. All tourists who wish to go to the upper parts of the Machu Picchu Archaeological Park must first consult their doctor and undergo a health check. Dr. Amato has been saying this in different forms, in different interviews for years. He's been begging the Peruvian government to require pre-climb health screening. The reason he has been begging is that he is the man who signs off on the body removal paperwork every time a tourist dies on Huayna Picchu, multiple times a year. There is no health screening, there is no requirement. Anyone with 400 souls and an internet connection can buy the permit. Marcus had bought the permit 4 months earlier, sitting in his Phoenix office between bypass surgeries. Warning 7. The kill shot. Marcus and Linda began the climb at 6:47 a.m. The first 45 minutes went well. The trail rises steeply through cloud forest, 2,000 stone steps, much of it 60-degree gradient, with the famous narrow exposed sections beginning about halfway up. Marcus was breathing harder than usual, but said he felt fine. Linda was 3 steps behind him. At approximately 7:35 a.m., they reached the section the locals call the Escalera de la Muerte, the Stairs of Death. 600 years old, cut directly into the granite face of the mountain. Steps barely 2 feet wide, a single steel cable added by the Peruvian Park Service running along the right side. To the left, a sheer drop of approximately 1,000 feet to the cloud forest below. Marcus stopped at the base of the section to drink water. Linda saw it before he did. His lips were blue, not pale. Blue, she told him. Marcus laughed and said, and these are the last words his wife of 25 years would ever hear him say, "Linda, I am a heart surgeon. I would know." He turned. He took 3 steps up the stairs of death. He put his right hand on the cable. He leaned forward to take the 4th step. He folded sideways. He fell 40 feet down the staircase before his body wedged against a cable post. Linda, 3 steps behind him, caught his pack as it came off. She still has the pack. She has not been able to throw it away. Marcus Reeves's official cause of death, recorded by the Peruvian medical examiner who attended at the trailhead 2 hours later, was acute myocardial infarction at altitude, a massive heart attack triggered by the combination of hypoxia, exertion, and an underlying coronary artery disease that an EKG 3 months earlier had specifically flagged. The stress test he had refused would have shown 70% blockage in his left anterior descending artery, the artery cardiologists call the widowmaker. Linda buried him in Phoenix on March 14th, 2022. Dr. Amato's call for mandatory health screening at Machu Picchu has gone unanswered. Marcus was, depending on which Peruvian news source you trust, either the 3rd or the 5th foreign tourist to die of cardiac events on Huayna Picchu in the previous 12 months. Annika Sharma, the cardiologist who had warned him at lunch, gave a talk at the next American Heart Association conference on altitude cardiac mortality in tourists. She did not name Marcus. She did not have to. 3 of her colleagues in the audience figured out who she was talking about within the first slide. Dr. Patel, Marcus's primary care physician, kept the chart note. Patient declined further workup. Discussed risks. Patient understands. Patient did not understand. The widowmaker is named the widowmaker for a reason. It kills men who are convinced they are the exception. It kills marathoners, it kills surgeons, it kills the men who, when their wife stands 3 steps behind them and says, "Your lips are blue," answer with, "Linda, I am a heart surgeon. I would know." Marcus Reeves had been warned by his primary care doctor. He had been warned by a cardiologist colleague who specialized in his exact cause of death. He had been warned by a fellow tourist who asked him a question he could not answer. He had been warned by a Peruvian park ranger who delivered the same script 400 times a day. And he had been warned more profoundly than any of them by Dr. Donato Amato, a man begging his own government to do what Marcus's own field had spent 50 years telling everyone. The men who think they know are the men who die. The stairs of death do not negotiate. Everyone who mattered had already told him what was coming. Thanks for watching The Final Trip. If this one stayed with you, hit subscribe. There are always more.